for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful fortress dreams that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God's men thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. America, America, America.
Please stand for the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave, home of the brave?
We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you don't
Good afternoon, Head Start. My name is Vanessa Rich, and I am the chairperson for the National Head Start Association. And yes, that's us, that's us. I want to first of all say thank you so much to our fabulous choir, Dr. Moore, Almeida Keys. They have been working with that choir for just about a week, pulling the pieces together. And 3 days, 1 day, 2 days, really fast. But a fabulous job, and those are people from our folks from all around the country. And I'm just excited by it. The other thing is that we had that special guest who's a recording artist, and his name is Rob Mercer, and a special hand for Mr. Mercer. Our national anthem was so beautifully sung by the winner of Head Start's Got Talent. For those of you, how many of you were at the parent conference in New Orleans? Well, the contest was won by Autumn Bates, and Miss Bates, you can see why she won. So I just one last time want to thank them for sharing their talent with us, and let's have one last round of applause for the fabulous talent. So I think everybody can figure out when you put on an event like this, it requires a lot of hard work and generosity of great sponsors. Sponsors who really care and are willing to step up to the plate. So we are so pleased that abcmouse.com agreed to sponsor this opening session. And representing ABC Mouse and its parent company, Age of Learning Incorporated, is Dr. Rebecca Palacios. Dr. Palacios is a lifelong educator. She taught pre-kindergarten for more than 30 years, she doesn't look that old, in Corpus Christi, Texas, much of that time in dual language programs. She earned her PhD in curriculum and instruction from the University of Texas at Austin. All you Texans out there can applaud. And is a pioneer in the field of dual language learning. Dr. Palacios also co-founded the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards. Last year, she was one of the 5 educators inducted into the National Teachers Hall of Fame and became the first Latina to earn that recognition. She is a member of the Curriculum Board and Senior Curriculum Advisor at Age of Learning, the company that created and continues to develop ABC Mouse. Please welcome Dr. Rebecca Palacios.
Sweetheart. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I am honored and pleased to be here with you today. For me, it is an important milestone and the next step in a teaching adventure that I would like to share with you. As Vanessa said, I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, where I still live. For those who haven't been there, Corpus Christi is a beautiful city by the Corpus Christi Bay. My family has been there for 5 generations. 50 years ago this spring, our local school district was one of thousands across the country, preparing to open Head Start classrooms for the very first time. Guess what? I was 10 years old and looking forward to finishing 5th grade. My hair was a little longer then. And let me tell you, I was a hot little mess. You can't tell by looking at me, but I was precocious, and when I was 3, I announced to my family that I wanted to become a teacher. Now, that big school down the street where my sister attended had always been like a magnet for me. My abuelita, my grandmother, and I would walk down there and pick my sister up from school, and I could only stare with awe at the wonderful, exciting things that I could see at my eye level. Basically, you're still at my eye level, but that's okay. So you can only imagine how excited I was about 7 years after that when my mother told me about the need for volunteers to work with young children at my own elementary school, T.G. Allen. I wanted to learn about all the ways that the teachers would work with the children and the activities that they would prepare for them. I found myself doing the hokey pokey, matching pieces of bazillions of lost puzzles, helping open milk cartons, and asking questions of the children after I had read stories to them. My teaching adventure began that summer. And starting with that very important, pivotal experience, I developed a deep appreciation and respect for Head Start. For every child that Head Start has served, there are so many more success stories, and you know those. Not only the successes of the children, but also the success stories for teachers, families, the country, and yes, volunteers, even little ones like me. My love for teaching and learning has increased since that time. I tried to put everything I learned into an early childhood lesson, and when the children would spontaneously burst into applause at the end of a lesson, well, to tell you the truth, it's what helped me keep going back to school the next day. I am grateful that I have been able to lead children to find their own gifts, to use teaching and learning experiences to carry through their lifetimes. That, for me, was the greatest reward. My teaching career was an opportunity to meet my lifetime goal. But yet, after I retired, another opportunity was afforded to me, one that hadn't even been invented when I thought about teaching, one that I never even expected. 6 years ago, a friend of mine and colleague from the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards introduced me to Age of Learning, the company that would build and become abcmouse.com. I learned about their mission to blend education best practices, innovative technology, and insightful creativity to bring learning to life for children everywhere. They were developing the most comprehensive online curriculum ever created for early learners, using the power of the internet to make high-quality education resources available at a low cost to every child. But let me tell you, I'm an idealist. And in abcmouse.com, I saw an ideal. I saw the promise of what America's best early childhood education program could be. A program that could help prepare the youngest, tiniest learners for success early on and also throughout their lives. Here was a way to teach and reach children, not just in my school community, but amazingly around the world. I joined Age of Learning as a member of the curriculum board and a senior advisor, and over the last 6 years, I've seen the company's promise become reality. abcmouse.com is now the leading and most comprehensive online early learning resource available. A few quick points I'd like to share. First, abcmouse.com is completely free to all Head Start programs. We make it free with no strings attached. Thank you. As part of our commitment to helping every child learn, regardless of their family's financial circumstances, any Head Start teacher or administrator can create a free account at www.abcmouse.com/headstart. Is it / one of those? Second, abcmouse.com's interactive learning approach is not only for young children, it is also a connection between the Head Start teacher and the family. All 5,000 plus activities, we're creating them daily, are on our website and mobile app and are available for teachers to share with parents individually to meet students' specific educational needs. There's even a Spanish tool, which I love, porque hablo español, that will help Spanish-speaking parents understand the topics their children are learning. Finally, since last year's National Head Start Association conference, a number of research studies on abcmouse.com have been completed. These studies, some of which are summarized on our blog at ageoflearning.com, demonstrate that using abcmouse.com accelerates children's learning of basic literacy and numeracy, improving kindergarten readiness, and building a strong foundation for academic success. My teaching adventure started 50 years ago, yikes, in a Head Start classroom, and it continues to this day. I hope abcmouse.com can help you in your teaching adventure, and that 50 years from now, your students will share with you and others their own adventures. Have a great conference. Thank you.
This is a long walk. Thank you, Dr. Palacios, and thank you, ABC Mouse, for your support. And I hope everyone makes a point of stopping by the ABC Mouse booth at the exhibit hall during the reception that will follow the session. And also, please make sure to stop by the booths of all of our sponsors. In addition to ABC Mouse, be sure to stop by these conference sponsors' booths: Discount School Supply, Teaching Strategies, Second Step, Shine Early Learning, Whipflea, Frog Street, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, Teachstone, ChildPlus.net, Hatch, Lakeshore, School Health, and Follett, and as well as Corporation for Public Broadcasting, PBS Kids. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Washington and to the 50th anniversary celebration of Head Start. I'm Yasmina Vinci. I'm the Executive Director of the National Head Start Association. I work for all of you every day of my life, and I'm very honored to do that. And I'm just, I literally right now have goosebumps because I see all 5,000 of you, and there are probably more people who are watching it streaming. So happy anniversary, Head Start. So right now, at this point, usually when I speak at conferences, I would be introducing, recognizing the VIPs in the room, making them stand, and then you would all applaud. But I'm not going to do that today. Rather, I'm going to do it, but differently. So first of all, how many of you here are Head Start babies? Raise your hand, or stand up better. You are the VIPs. You're the VIPs of this whole celebration because you're the living, breathing proof that Head Start works. And if you were a Head Start baby in that first 1965 class, you are the VIPs especially. And be sure to see Olivia at the NHSA alumni booth this evening, and she may have a very special invitation for you. So, who here has been a parent or is a parent of a Head Start child? Please stand up. You are the VIPs. Now, who is a director, a staff member, or a teacher in the Head Start program? Please stand up. You too are the VIPs. And just let us tell you how proud we are of the passion and the commitment you bring to bear on your very challenging jobs every day, every single day. So when we started planning last year, It did not take long for us to realize that it was really going to be, this was going to be once-in-a-lifetime event. So I personally did not want anybody to be disappointed that they didn't attend. So we did everything we could think to get the word out. And I know some of you may have gotten so tired of getting the emails from us, you probably just went delete, delete, delete. But one thing we did was to ask the regional presidents and executive directors to pull out all the stops and do everything they could do to get people here. So we made it a competition, promising the winning region would be announced here and that the winning region would have a chance to welcome. And it was a very, very tight competition. And the winner is Region 5. And while the Region 5 people make their way, we also want to acknowledge very, very close by just a few votes were Region 4 and Region 3. Thank you, everybody. It was a good competition. So, Region 5.
Wow, look at that crowd. That's great. Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Burns, and I'm the outgoing president of the Region 5 Association from Miami Valley Child Development Centers in Ohio. And we represent 6 states at Region 5, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Kathy Fudge-White. I am the director of the Early Childhood Services Division for Catholic Charities in Joliet, Illinois, and I am the incoming regional president for Region 5.
So you know, we love all of you being here, but Region 5, where are you? Woo! Thank you so much. I've been to many, many National Head Start events in my 42 years in Head Start, and I think this is going to be absolutely the best one so far. So have a great time, and we're so glad you're here. Thank you.
So, welcome again. So today, again, is a very special day that has to do with one of our own Head Start babies. We're very fortunate to have with us today the preeminent social justice advocate, Dr. Cornell Brooks, a Head Start baby. In my opinion, there's no one more qualified to talk with us about how education, and early education in particular, is an important social justice issue. First, Mr. Brooks is a 4th-generation ordained minister. And you can be sure he received from a most reliable source a very clear idea of what constitutes a just world. Second, he was for many years a pioneering lawyer and civil rights activist. Third, he's a parent, the father of 2 quite amazing sons. And I'm pretty sure he understands from firsthand experience how important the early years are in ensuring success in school and in life. Mr. Brooks became the national president and CEO of the NAACP last May, and we're thrilled that he would take a few moments from the very important work he's doing there to speak with us today. So please give a warm Head Start welcome to Dr. Cornell Brooks.
Good afternoon. This being a celebration of Head Start. And because I know that all of you are in a celebratory and joyous mood, I'm going to say good afternoon again. I want you to say it like you're celebrating 50 years of extraordinary success. Good afternoon. Now I know I'm in the right place. To this extraordinary gathering of parents and staff and Americans of every hue and heritage, every ethnicity, and every generation, I simply say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this extraordinary celebration. To Yasmina, Vinci, the Executive Director of Head Start, who is responsible for me having this opportunity to be here 15 years almost exactly from the time I first addressed this Head Start conference years ago. To Congressman DeLauro, who is en route to this festive occasion. To Dr. Zigler, the father of Head Start, and to those Head Start babies of whatever age you are. And to the staff and faculty and to the leadership of the Head Start Association, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this extraordinary occasion. Now, I have to share with you, I've not always been so fortunate to be a part of such an extraordinary gathering, such an august gathering. In fact, in my 20 years as a civil rights lawyer and as a minister, I've had occasions from time to time to speak to people. And I've not always been so fortunate to be in the midst of such an august group of people. In fact, I can think of a time many years ago when, as a young, naive, innocent minister, I found myself in a big city, standing outside of this beautiful Gothic cathedral early on a Sunday morning. True story. I found myself outside of this beautiful Gothic cathedral on a Sunday morning, supposing that there were about 2,000 or so people inside waiting to hear this naive, presumptuous preacher preach. True story. I made my way into this beautiful Gothic cathedral, and I immediately noticed the obvious. The pastor and exactly 2 members. True story. But I did what I was taught to do, which is to say that you preach, you speak, you share with 2 people in the same way that you would to 5,000, with sincerity, with conviction from the heart. So I made my way into the pulpit and I began to preach, and I immediately noticed the obvious. Of these 2 members, one of whom I'll call Ms. Jones, the other I will simply call Ms. Smith, I noticed that Ms. Jones immediately fell asleep. But as I was preaching, as I was speaking from the depths of my heart, I immediately noticed the obvious, that Ms. Smith seemed to hang on to every word I had to say. She said hallelujah at all the right moments. She said amen, amen at all the right times. She tapped her toes, she clapped her hands, she nodded her head, and I thought to myself, on this Sunday morning, at least I'm reaching somebody. So I made my way out of the pulpit to the side of the pastor, and the pastor said to me, Brother Brooks, you know, I'm just so sorry. Miss Jones, she falls asleep on everybody. And Miss Smith, she's out of her mind and did not understand the thing you had to say. So you can see why I am so extraordinarily happy to be in the midst of so many people who are wide awake and presumably in your right minds. On this afternoon, were you to gather into your arms the legacy, the rich inheritance, those whom we call our children? Were you to hold in your arms in loving embrace a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old child? Were you to hold them close enough to your heart that they might hear your heartbeat and hear the love that you have for them? Were you to hold them that close? They might pose to you this question, or rather these questions. Why is today special? And why are we here? Why is today special? Why are we here? Why are we here as parents? Why are we here as staff? Why are we here as faculty? Why are we here as citizens of this great republic, of every hue and every heritage, of every generation? Why are we here at this extraordinary moment in history? 50 years after the passage of the Voting Rights Act, 50 years after the Selma to Montgomery March, 50 years after Bloody Sunday, and 50 years after the launch of one of America's greatest experiments in democracy and education, otherwise and eloquently known as Head Start. Were you to hold your child, your granddaughter, your grandson, your son, or your daughter close to your heart, they might ask you, Mommy, Daddy, Grandmommy, Granddaddy, why are we here? Why is today special? You might answer that simple series of interrogatives, that simple series of queries. We're here because we're in the midst of a birthday celebration of Head Start. Every child, every son, every daughter, every mother, every father, every grandmother, every grandfather that dedicated herself to our children's legacy in this great enterprise called Head Start. A First Lady of this republic known as Eleanor Roosevelt. Nearly 50 years before the founding of Head Start, she stood before an august gathering not unlike this one, and she said these words, "This, or rather these, are no ordinary times. This is no ordinary time." We find ourselves at this moment in our history, uncomfortably situated between the past and the present. We find ourselves in the midst of a republic that is of a divided and ambivalent mind when it comes to education. But those who are gathered in this room at this extraordinary moment in history understand that we have committed ourselves, we have dedicated ourselves to education of the first order and education of excellence for our children. We have dedicated ourselves to this Head Start organization and association because we believe in our children. It's no ordinary time when we are able to send a child off to an academy called Head Start to prepare for reading, to prepare for math, knowing that that child will come home at the end of the day a little better prepared to become a citizen, a little better prepared to become a mathematician, a little better prepared to become an attorney, a little better prepared to become a physician, a little better prepared to become a nurse, a little better prepared to become a police officer, even a little better prepared to become the president and CEO of the NAACP. It's no ordinary time. When we commit ourselves to prepare our children for the very best that this country has to offer. It's no ordinary time when we dedicate ourselves to the proposition that every child matters. Black children matter, brown children matter, Latino children matter, Asian children matter, Jewish children matter, Protestant and Catholic children matter. All of our children matter. When we dedicate ourselves to the proposition that every child matters, we underscore the proposition that America matters, and that if our children matter, we can make this country matter. And if we can make our country matter, we can make it better. A story is told of a Baptist preacher in the state of Mississippi by the name of the Reverend James Daniel Broom. In the height of the civil rights movement, in the heat of battle, agents of the state government created a file on him, surveilled him, followed him, as was the custom in those days in the 1960s in the state of Mississippi. They surveilled Medgar Evers and Charles Evers. They surveilled Fannie Lou Hamer. They surveilled anyone who stood up for freedom and justice under our American Constitution. The Reverend James Daniel Broom was followed and tracked by what was known and then called the Sovereignty Commission. Many years later, his son-in-law, your speaker, did a little research to find out what was in his file, such that in the height of the American Civil Rights Movement, in the midst of an ugly epic of racialized brutality in this country, what was in his file such that the state would deem him necessary, dangerous, and subversive enough to follow? 2 entries. One, referring to his activities to found the Head Start program in his county in Mississippi. The other entry, his membership in the NAACP. My brothers and sisters, let us be clear. There's a relationship between Head Start and the NAACP. Because when we stand for education, when we stand for educational excellence, when we stand for our children having the very best that this republic has to offer, we're standing for civil rights, we're standing for justice, we're standing up for righteousness, we're standing for the very best that this country has and the very best it has for our children. My father-in-law risked his life for the NAACP, but he also risked his life for Head Start. Martin Luther King once said, "If a man has not found anything for which he is willing to die, he is not fit to live." I'm not sure about you, but I'm not worried about dying. I'm very much worried about living. And those of you who are dedicated and committed to Head Start can say to yourselves and say to this country, we will live for our children. We will live for our sons and daughters. We will live for our grandchildren. We will live for a better way of life. We will live for education. We will live for academic excellence. We will live that our children might have the very best that this country has to offer. That's who we are. That's what we stand for, and those are our values. When I was a little boy, my grandmother, Mrs. Rosalie Prelo, was fond of telling me a little story that reminds us of why we're here this afternoon. She said to me, Cornell, when you came into this world, you did not make a great first impression. She said you weighed 3 pounds and 3 ounces. My friends tell me I've not managed to gain much weight since then. My grandmother said that when you were born, because you were so premature and so small, that the physicians rushed to the side of your mother and told her, your son will not live beyond the end of the day. So if you are religious, you should have a chaplain come and bless and pray for your child, your son. My grandmother, who was a staunch Methodist, swears by this story. They looked high and low for a priest and couldn't find one. Looked high and low for a Protestant minister and couldn't find one. But they did find a good rabbi. And my grandmother swears because of the prayers of that rabbi and because of her prayers, I'm here today. She told me that story because she wanted me to understand that life is a gift to be given to others in service. That's what Head Start is about. It is a gift to the next generation. It is a gift to our children. It is a gift that we have to protect, that we have to hold sacred, that we have to guard, that we have to stand behind, and that we have to wrap our arms around in loving embrace. That's what Head Start is about. So every moment that you give in sacrifice, every moment that you give in volunteering, every moment that you give in service, you're not giving to this program. You're not giving to this government program, this government legacy. You're giving to your children and you're giving to your future. That's what Head Start is about. When my mother was a young woman living not too far from here in Anacostia, in southeast Washington, D.C., she heard about a wonderful new program. She didn't know a whole lot about it, but she did know that our family believed deeply in education. And so she signed me up for Head Start. As an indication of what this start meant for me, were you to go to the national headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, of the NAACP, when you walk into the building, you'll notice a large bust of Medgar Evers, a martyr in the freedom struggle in this country. If you go to the second floor, you'll see pictures of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Roy Wilkins. If you walk into my office, you look on the wall and you'll see a picture of William Edward Burgat Du Bois. And if you happen to look past the trinkets and memorabilia on the walls, you'll notice at the top of the wall is my diploma from Yale Law School. Beneath that, you'll see a diploma from Boston University School of Theology. Beneath that, you'll find a diploma from Jackson State University. But beneath that and at eye level is a diploma, a certificate from Head Start. Of those, I'm most proud of the one that says not Yale, not Boston University, not Jackson State, but Head Start. Because I'm proud of the work that you've done, the work that you do, and the work that you yet shall do for all of us, for every child anywhere in America who yet believes that we represent the future. We represent the hope of this country. Head Start is at the core of the work of the NAACP. Over 50 years ago, a brave band of civil rights pioneers led by Thurgood Marshall took on an odious doctrine known as separate but equal. In a case called Brown v. Board of Education, they took on this legal doctrine of separate but equal, enshrined in a court decision known as Plessy versus Ferguson. Not merely because it was a violation of the Constitution, but because they understood, and the NAACP understands, that education is not only a testament of who you are and how smart you are. It is a testament to your character. It is a testament to your parents' values. It's a testament to our nature and to the nature and the character of our country. And so when you ask, what is the mission of the NAACP, I would suggest to you it is the same mission of Head Start, to raise up a generation of citizens, to raise up a generation of children, to raise up a generation of Americans that represent the best values of this country. That's what we share in common. That's the legacy we have between us. And so, my brothers and sisters, particularly those of you who are parents, let me suggest to you that you are engaged in the same dangerous line of work is the NAACP. You see, when you stand up for justice and stand against injustice, there are those who rise up in violent opposition. Let me remind you, when you stand up for your children because you believe in their beauty and brilliance, there are those who will rise in opposition. When you stand behind your children and you say, we will not allow them to succumb to the preschool to prison pipeline, there are those who will rise in opposition. When you stand behind your children and say, we will not give them over to the prison industrial complex, there are those who rise in opposition. I want to say to those of you in this National Head Start Association that when there are people in this country who are silent with respect to the care and protection of our children, when there are those who are silent in their cynicism and pessimism about what we can do, what we can achieve, and how far we can go, I say to you, quote this hymn of the NAACP to them. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on, let us march on, let us march on, let us march on till victory is won. For all of us, for the NAACP, for Head Start, for all of our children, and for this nation.
I think we should just stop right here. That was fantastic. Thank you. Can we hear again? And I apologize to everybody who's coming after. It's not going to be so emotional. But I'm going to introduce Erin Trenbeath-Murray, who is one of the most innovative Head Start directors. She has been for nearly 2 decades. She has directed the Head Start programs at Salt Lake Community Action Head Start in Salt Lake City, Utah. Recently named Ernst & Young Utah Entrepreneur of the Year, Erin and her staff find creative ways to meet the needs of the 2,400 families they serve. For example, they recently opened a financially sustainable central kitchen to provide nourishing meals to those families. So Erin is here today to introduce a member of her board, another Head Start baby. This is about Head Start, folks, who will provide a private sector perspective on the importance of early education. So this is an additional perspective from another Head Start alum. So, Erin?
Yasmina, you didn't need to say I've been with Head Start for 2 decades, over 2 decades. Could have left that part out. Good afternoon. It is my deep pleasure to introduce our next speaker, very close to my heart because he is an alum from Salt Lake in the original Head Start program that was launched the summer of 1965. He was a true advocate and came forth in the community to let us know how important Head Start was to him and to his mother and his family. It was through coincidence, and it's just blessed my life and my experience as a Head Start director. Ray Butcher is the Vice President of Questar Corporation and of Government Relations. He's here today with his wife, Lily. They have 3 boys and is a graduate of the University of Utah. Ray's story is the epitome of Head Start success and the beautiful, amazing American dream that we just got to hear of. And I'm just thrilled that I get to have an association with him. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Ray Butcher. Please help me welcome him.
Thank you, Erin. I am so proud of you and Joni Clark and the entire Utah Head Start team. Your dedication and leadership is just so fantastic. Thank you for everything you do. I'm so lucky to work and surround myself with so many great people in Utah who care about each other and the communities we live. And I'd also like to acknowledge my better half and my wife here with me, Lily. She truly is my hero and my better half. I'm honored and humbled to be here this afternoon and a proud alum of Head Start in Salt Lake City, Utah from 1965 to 1967. I am celebrating my 50-year anniversary with Head Start. Congratulations to all of you leading your Head Start programs nationwide. What a spectacular connection of people here today. I grew up in a low-income neighborhood in the west side of Salt Lake City, Utah, and I was raised by my mother. My father passed away when I was 6 months old. My mother worked 2 jobs and devoted her life to ensure my safety and to care for me. My grandparents also provided the comfort of family and were there to support us. When I was 2 years old, we were involved in a car accident. A drunk driver hit us head on, and I was thrown through the front windshield and suffered many injuries, some visible and others emotional. My speech development was affected, and to be honest, so was my confidence. My mother enrolled me at Oker Head Start School in downtown Salt Lake City with a teacher specializing in speech therapy. Wow, I get goosebumps thinking about how people cared about me at that school. With the help of special programs and learning resources offered in the classroom, I was able to prepare for elementary school. A strong memory still stands out in my mind was coloring and painting at Head Start, using bright colors that made me smile and think outside the box. Art elevated my creativity. I went on later in life to become a graphic designer and worked in engineering. Head Start gave me the confidence, and I endured the opportunity of the human connection, the sense of security and direction, while capitalizing on my learning path in education. I am grateful and thankful for the foundation of what Head Start community provided for me. When I graduated from Head Start, I was prepared for the next level of education. I graduated from West High School in 1980, followed by my college education at the University of Utah. I am grateful for my career today as Vice President of Government Relations for Questar Corporation, a natural gas-focused energy company headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah. Thank you for providing the tools and resources to our young children. Each one of you have made a difference, and I'll hope you'll continue to build on what you have accomplished. I know without the foundation Head Start provided me, I would not be where I am today. It's people like you who made a difference in my life.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Linda Smith, and I am currently the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Early Childhood Development at the Administration for Children and Families. And it is truly an honor to be here and look out at this crowd of people celebrating 50 years of opportunity for our nation's children. When Yasmina asked me to do this, I couldn't have been more honored to be the person to come here and introduce our next speaker. I have known Dr. Zigler for a long time, and he has been a friend and someone that I have looked up to for my entire career. So it gives me a great deal of honor to be here today to introduce him and to introduce Dr. Gilliam, who's here with him. As many of you know, Dr. Gilliam is one of the architects of Head Start. In 1964, he was appointed by Sergeant Shriver to a small committee of physicians, scholars, social workers, and educators charged with designing the Head Start model. Dr. Zigler went on to run the Office of Child Development, where Head Start was housed, and which later became the Administration for Children and Families, where I now work. Dr. Zigler has published so many articles and books that it's just hard to count, but if you want to know, it's over 800 scholarly articles and 40 books during his career. He is the Sterling Professor Emeritus of Psychology and Director Emeritus of the Edward Zigler Center in Child Development and Social Policy, both at Yale University. Here today accompanying Dr. Zigler is another dear friend of mine, Dr. Walter S. Gilliam, who is now the director of the Edward Zigler Center in Child Development and Psychology at the Child Studies Center, Yale School of Medicine. And he too has quite a list of scholarly articles and works that he has contributed to the field of early childhood education, including many on school readiness, developmental assessment of young children, and very recently on social emotional development and expulsion policies, which we are all working on and taking very seriously. Dr. Gilliam actively provides consultation to the federal government on a regular basis in the work that we do around developing federal policy. So now it gives me just more, it's just with so much humility and I guess admiration that I get the honor of introducing the father of Head Start to this community, Dr. Ed Zigler.
Happy 50th. When Head Start started, I was on the planning committee. I was the youngest member of the planning committee, and I guess I'm the only one of that committee that's left. There were preschool programs before Head Start. There was Susan Gray's program in Nashville, the Deutsches program in New York. We had a program in New Haven sponsored by the Ford Foundation. However, these programs really were not like Head Start. They seemed to be only interested in one aspect of the child's growth and development, namely his cognitive development. You know, did we raise his IQ? Did we raise his scores on early tests? The planning committee was composed of all kinds of disciplines, and they all wanted to be represented in Head Start. So the first thing that was invented was, instead of just worrying about IQs and cognition, we'd worry about the whole child and have a great deal of just comprehensive services. How many people know that Head Start children get the bulk of their calories due to the feeding program in Head Start? Head Start pays for itself just what it does for the physical well-being of poor children in this country. Some of my old friends who are here, who I've had a chance to say hello to, remember that over this 50 years, Head Start has gone from crisis to crisis. Every reauthorization of Head Start presents a new problem. Should we send Head Start to the state? Should we send Head Start to the Department of Education, and on and on and on? We've won all of those battles, thanks to you and parents who have come forward. I just want to tell you about the very first crisis in Head Start, which occurred when I was only a week or 10 days in Washington, where I became the federal official responsible for the Head Start program. I was asked to come to a meeting by the Office of Management and Budget. This kind of not well-known office is probably the most powerful office in Washington, since it's a kind of a arm of the White House. So I went to this meeting. Before I was appointed to this job, I had about a dozen interviews, you know, and I guess they were successful. I got hired. But I went to this meeting, and this guy who I never heard of unrolled a big pad and a white sheet of paper and told me, remember, I'd only been in Washington a week or so. He told me that my job was to close down 1/3 of Head Start in the first year, the second third in the second year, and the third third in the 3 years. And so Head Start would last 3 more years and then out. Nobody mentioned any job. I would have never come to Washington to close down Head Start. You know, it's closer to my heart than many programs. You know, Yale professors aren't. I don't know who this man was. I didn't know what he was talking about. Nobody had mentioned in all those interviews I did. Nobody said my job was going to be to close Head Start. I would have never taken it. If they needed somebody to close down Head Start, they couldn't have picked the worst candidate. I had a wonderful boss who was the secretary of HEW, Elliot Richardson. So what I did is I rushed back to HEW and demanded to see the secretary. And of course, Elliot and I were, you know, we were good friends, and we admired each other. And I told him, I said, I was given this job to close down Head Start in 3 years. And if that's my job, I'm going to resign right now. And Elliot looked at me and he said, Ed, don't worry about it. I will go to the White House and get this cleared up. You should just go back to your office and do your work. And he did. And Head Start had no closer friend and supporter than Elliot Richardson, who's no longer with us either. So the first crisis was navigated. I'm not going to go into any more crises. Some of you in this audience helped me fight some of these battles. And Head Start has been a battle for 50 years, but it's been a good battle, and we've won it. The planning committee did 2 things that was never done before. They created 2 pillars of Head Start. The first pillar was comprehensive services, physical health, social work, nutrition, and on and on and on. The second was parent involvement. Head Start is a wonderful program, but it doesn't raise children. Parents raise children. We help them. Back in the early days, they were talking about maximum feasible participation by the poor in their programs. But what the hell could that mean? So I invented the Head Start policy councils that had to have a certain percentage of parents on them, which still exist. Please remember that those 2 items remain the pillars of Head Start. Give them both the attention and care that they deserve. I've always appreciated the kindness shown me by Head Start people. We're a family of sorts. I'm getting a little long in the tooth, and I was glad to see some very young people today. One of them I chatted with, and I ordered her to be sure to be here for the 100th anniversary. I won't make it, but some of you will. Thank you.
Well, have you ever had to follow a tough act? That's where I am right now. Well, happy birthday, happy 50th birthday, Head Start. Greetings, friends and colleagues. While I have the honor of being the director of the Edward Zigler Center in Child Development and Social Policy at Yale University, that man right there, my mentor, has the honor of actually being Edward Zigler. Dr. Zigler shared with us many wonderful stories about the very beginnings of Head Start, what its true purposes were at the very beginning, what they are now, as well as some dark times for Head Start when its future wasn't really very certain. But there are some elements of a story that he hasn't shared with you, some elements that I'm going to share with you. And these are elements about Edward Zigler, the man himself. The man who many have called the father of Head Start and original architect of Head Start and one of the staunchest champions for the past 50 years and counting, himself grew up in poverty. The son of immigrants, selling produce from the back of a horse-drawn wagon. He learned English and a whole lot more in a preschool program within a settlement house in Kansas City, Missouri. It was at this settlement preschool that Ed received the foundations of his education, received health care and social and family services, and became ready for school and ready for life, a combination of services that treated him as a whole child. Now, obviously, he thrived, and he became a psychology professor at Yale University, was chosen as part of the original planning committee for Head Start at its very beginnings in the Johnson administration in 1965, and was the chief administrator of Head Start as the director of the Office of Child Development, analogous to our current administration for the children and families in the Nixon administration. And he brought to Head Start planning process two important values that he learned as a preschooler in a settlement house for immigrant children living in poverty. The first value was the value of the whole child, his or her educational, health, mental health, dental, social, nutritional, family and community needs, as well as the need to intervene and support as early in a child's life as is possible. That's the first value. The second value, a firm belief in equity and fairness and hope. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe not all of our children in life will hit a home run, but everyone deserve a chance at the plate with a decent bat and a fairly pitched ball. Every single one of them. Dr. Zigler knew that. Dr. Zigler's life is that. Let me tell you a story. 2 years ago, last February, Dr. Zigler, then 82, broke part of the leg that joins into the hip socket. He required surgery. His wife, Bernice, and I were with him when they took him into anesthesia. As he was undergoing anesthesia at Yale New Haven Hospital, Dr. Zigler, in an increasingly groggy state, was giving me directives for the work on Head Start that he felt needed to be done, as if it were a just-in-case scenario. He said, "Walter." Now bear in mind, he was kind of groggy at this time. "Walter, where's Obama on Head Start reauthorization?" What's Linda Smith doing on CCDBG? True. I don't know where Obama was on Head Start reauthorization, but it was pretty clear where Dr. Zigler's thoughts were as he were laying there getting ready to go into surgery. Now, Dr. Zigler had two anesthesiologists at the time. One was younger than the other, and the younger anesthesiologist, Dr. John Paul Kim, at the time an assistant professor of anesthesiology at Yale, asked me, "Is he talking about Head Start, the preschool program for poor children?" That was his question. And I responded, "Yes, your patient there is someone many call the father of Head Start." And he replied, "You mean he ran all the Head Start for New Haven, Connecticut?" I said, No. He was on the planning committee that created Head Start during the Johnson administration. He administered Head Start during the Nixon administration, and his career in life has been about supporting and guiding Head Start from its very beginnings until now. He is perhaps the most central living figure in the history of Head Start. And Dr. Kim, who had also grown up in poverty, the son of refugee immigrants, he looked over at his patient, and he walked over to him, and he thanked him. And he told Dr. Zigler that he was a Head Start child himself. There he is on the left. Head Start graduation. Head Start graduation. That he had grown up poor in New York, lived in the basement of a church, and that his mother had often said that one of the reasons his life turned out so well, so differently than many of the other children in the neighborhood, was because he had a good start to school, a good start that Head Start provided him. With an unforgettable expression of admiration and awe, Dr. Kim thanked Dr. Zigler many times. It was as if Dr. Kim was finally able to express his gratitude to his previously unknown benefactor, a man who helped to give him the life opportunities that he may have never had otherwise through Head Start. Well, it was an extremely touching moment. I was fortunate to be there. And it was a very clear reminder of the value of Head Start. Friends, the good we put into this world for our children does come back to us. It comes back to us in the form of economic returns on investment, and it also comes back to us in very personal ways that cannot be captured in dollar figures. 50 years ago, Dr. Zigler felt it was important to invest in the lives of all of our children and families. 50 years ago, he devoted his life to this cause through Head Start. There is no way at that time that he could have known that one day he would actually be placing his life in the hands of one of those Head Start graduates. Now, during the intervening 2 years, Dr. Kim has sent me email messages. He sent me an email just afterwards. "How's Dr. Zigler doing?" Wanted to know about his patient. He was checking on his patient. And he sent me emails ever since, but he's not actually been able to do a direct contact with his patient since that 2-year period, until now. Checking in on his patient, Dr. Zigler, for the first time since his surgery 2 years ago, Dr. John Paul Kim, Head Start alum.
Hello? Okay. Well, Dr. Zigler, it's great to see you again. especially under better circumstances than the last time. Although sitting before 5,000 people is probably better for you than it is for me. How have you been recovering?
I'm fine. I'm fine. The anesthesia worked. I went to sleep and I woke up. I didn't have a bit of hesitation to put my life in the hands of an ex-Head Start child.
It was an extraordinary day for me as well. Not just because we didn't talk about the usual, you look too young to be a doctor, but the fact that Dr. Gilliam shared that you were the father of Head Start was really touching to me, that I was able to give back to someone who was part of this program that was so meaningful and impactful to my life. My family, like many other families, came here for the opportunity to start over. As Cambodian refugees, they had lost everything except for hope and a dream. And they came here to give me and my siblings a new start. And my father chose this country for exactly that, for the opportunity and the education and the chance to do and succeed. My mother had told me when she was growing up, due to gender inequality, that she didn't even have the opportunity to finish school because it was just not the proper role for her. And my father, in coming here, knew that he might not be able to practice medicine here, but we were the future, and he wanted to give. He wanted to give to us every chance to succeed. And that's what Head Start did for us. It gave us the chance. So it's a real privilege to be here and to thank you for everything that you and everything that everyone here has done with the Head Start program, because everything you do has such a far-reaching effect that you don't even know until one day, 50 years later, it comes back and you realize what you've done. So thank you very much.
And that is not all. You heard Ed mention about parent involvement, family involvement. Mr. and Mrs. Kim, the parents of Dr. Kim, are
Thank you,
here.
Mom and Dad.
So this seems like an all Connecticut day today. So I'm thrilled to introduce, as Connecticut folks there, to introduce Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, who represents the 3rd Congressional District in Connecticut. Representative DeLauro has always been a stalwart champion of Head Start. We know that day in, day out. We're all very fortunate to have such a good friend and supporter in Congress. Please give a warm Head Start welcome to Rosa DeLauro.
Wow, as far as the eye can see, Dr. Zigler, and if you look at the empire that you have built, it really is so exciting to be here. And yes, Connecticut, where are you in the audience, Connecticut? It's great, we are so, so proud today. I understand there are 5,000 people here, my gosh. And I think we promise you, Dr. Zigler, that we will continue comprehensive services for our children, and we will make sure that their parents are involved in their lives. You have our commitment to that. And I can only say that listening to Dr. Kim's story in a poignant moment, that it is about a hope and a dream. It's about a hope and a dream that all parents have for their children. And what you have done is to help to realize those hopes and make those dreams come true for so many. And we can't say thank you enough for all that you have done. What an inspiration it is to see so many dedicated professionals and parents gathered here to celebrate this 50th anniversary of Head Start. You are on the front lines of this program that has given millions of disadvantaged children a fair chance in life. I'd love to recognize our host, the National Head Start Association. For more than 4 decades, you have acted as a megaphone for the generations of families who have benefited from Head Start, not to mention the millions who will enjoy its benefits into the future. And let me tell you, we hear you loud and clear on Capitol Hill, but don't dim your voices. Make them louder and clearer and tell them we will not take no for an answer when it regards Head Start and early childhood education for our children. 50 years ago, Sergeant Shriver, one of the architects of the War on Poverty, handpicked a brilliant young academic from Yale University, Edward Zigler, to serve as a leading expert tasked with designing the program that became Head Start. President Johnson spoke of this project as, and I quote, a new war front on poverty. He said, and again, quote, we set out to make certain that poverty's children would not be forevermore poverty's captives. Professor Zigler soon became known as the father of Head Start, and with good reason. I'm going to call him Father Zigler. He has advised every president since 1964, whether Democrat or Republican, on early childhood development. President Nixon appointed him to lead the office that has become the Administration for Children and Families, and simply put, no one has done more to advance Head Start. He is rightly one of the most celebrated residents of our mutual hometown of New Haven, Connecticut. And even today, it is difficult to overstate how audacious, how revolutionary Dr. Zigler's vision really is. Head Start brings together everything that matters most to young children: education, health, emotional well-being, nutrition, social services. Instead of treating children as isolated individuals, Head Start embraces whole families, involving parents in making sure their kids are ready to learn. Head Start is without question the most effective early childhood development program that our country has ever developed. It has served 30 million children and counting. We know that our Head Start graduates are less likely to need special education services, to be held back a grade, or to get into trouble with the law. They are most likely go on to college and to have professional careers. Head Start graduates are tomorrow's doctors, scientists, teachers, engineers, and political leaders. And that is why this program is so close to my heart, both professionally and personally. From watching my own grandchildren, the 4 of them, 10, 8, 7, and 5, playing with them, reading to them, we all know just how formative the earliest of experiences can be. And since I've had the honor to become the senior Democrat on the committee that is responsible for funding Head Start, myself and other colleagues have allowed for that budget to grow by nearly $1.4 million, or 19%. I could not be more proud of this opportunity that I have had and I have been blessed with in making those increases a reality. And we are going to not allow the naysayers to take us back to a time when there were no resources for our children. We are not going to allow them to say no to us. They are not going to deny every child the opportunity to succeed, to create that environment for success. I know, you know, and Ed Zigler knows that all that we do today is still not enough. We need to make an even bigger commitment. We need to bring the benefits of full-day, year-round services to all young children. And President Obama's budget is a step in the right direction with an additional $1.5 billion, but we need more. We must provide this support not only because it is the right thing to do, but because it is essential to our future as a nation. And as Dr. Zigler has written, and I quote, "If every child is a national resource, then every child's welfare is a national responsibility." I would only add, Dr. Zigler, that every child is a national priority as well. There is simply no better way to spend our education dollars than to fund early childhood development. Head Start means so much to the children and families that it serves. I had the opportunity to visit Seneca Falls, New York last year when we were engaged in an around the country event on making sure that women's economic security was taken care of, including the opportunity for their children to be a part of Head Start. But I saw a poster in a storefront window in Seneca Falls. It had the picture of a dinosaur with a slogan, and the quote was, "Save Head Start from extinction." And the kids had put their names and their handprints on it. Professor Zigler's own handprints and footprints can be found on everything that we do for America's children. And without question, he is the greatest advocate for early childhood development that this country has ever produced. He stands among the titans of post-war American public policy. His gifts to the United States do not stop with Head Start. He helped give our country family and medical leave, assistance with child care, 0 to 3, and with Dr. Jim Comer, the Cozy Initiative, the Yale Child Study Center. But his greatest legacy is the stars, too numerous to name, who have been trained at Yale under his tutelage. and who carry on this great work. And that is why Professor Zigler is one of my heroes. I have always been proud of him as a constituent, but more so as a mentor, as a guide, and not too many weeks ago called him and tried to get his advice about what we should do to get ahead of this curve for those who would like to cut back on funding for Head Start. How do we make our case? And he was there for me. He is a dear and revered friend. I say thank you to you, Dr. Zigler, Professor Zigler, the father of Head Start, and I am so proud to present you with a congressional record statement that will be placed in the archives of the United States House of Representatives to acknowledge the 50th anniversary of Head Start and your founding of Head Start. Dr. Zigler, we have a saying in Italian. It is cent'anni, 100 years for you for certain and for Head Start as well. God bless you and thank you.
And on the Hill, a stronger advocate and a harder worker than my Congresswoman, Rosa DeLauro.
Thank you.
Very, very much. Thank you. It's a high honor.
So I know we promised the Connecticut folks that they can have a selfie with Dr. Zigler, so that will happen in the exhibit hall. And also, anybody else in this audience who wants to come and have a big group picture with Dr. Zigler, he'll be in the exhibit hall at the end of the session. So.
Well, how's everybody doing so far? All right. So, I am here to talk about something very important. I bet you can't guess what it is. Would y'all say? One more time. That's right. Because we've been taking the church, so this is the rest of it. The National Head Start Association's Government Affairs team does a fantastic job, as you can see. They have worked with the administration and with states all across the country, and most importantly, they take the message where it needs to be taken, right here in Washington, where our voices need to be heard. Our support of dollar per child is how we make that voice heard. Dollar per Child is our national fundraising effort that supports NHSA's advocacy efforts. These funds, and only these funds, enable our strong voice to be heard in Washington. Tonight, we will acknowledge those Head Start programs whose parents and community supporters have come together this year and raised funds for dollar per child. They have had activities, everything from bake sales to car washes to setting a can by the front door so that they could support money in order to help us spread the word and keep Head Start viable, and here for another 50 years. So, if you brought your program's check, or if you know how much you raised and want to shout it out, please come up to the front and see where Lisa is. You're going to line up over there. Everybody here knows how to get in line if you're in Head Start. I also want you to think about, like I said, we have folks with baskets. Everybody knows what those are for, right? And you found envelopes on your chairs. You can put some folding money in those envelopes, and they will be passing the baskets. So we're going to pass the baskets around while we are moving on with our program. But I also want to make sure that we take a moment to talk about a few special recognitions. The Neighbors in Need of Service program in Texas, NINOS, they made an extraordinary effort each and every year supporting $1 per child. I believe NINOS would like to present their donation now. I know I heard them, so I'm sure they're here. Okay, Lucy, I got you. So at the end, they're going to make their presentation. All right, but the other recognition that I do know that we have in the House is Region 4. The Region 4 Association has really stepped up and supported NHSA this year. We appreciate the leadership of the Regional Association and the wonderful folks at Region 4. And Region, right here you are. I'm gonna get out of your way.
There's something alluring about the number 50. My friend the other day invited me to his 50th wedding anniversary, and another one says 50th graduation. Today, Region 4 presents $50,000. Stand up, Region 4. Region 4 rocks. Region 4, stand. Thank you very much. We couldn't have done it without the support of the affiliates and their hard work.
Wow. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
I understand that we have another region that has done an extraordinary job, and Region 2, I hear they got a check for us they wanted to present. I know Region 2 is in the house, I just saw you. Well, while we're waiting for Region 2, we have our line forming. I'll go ahead and go to Jay, okay. I have one other special, since Region 2 isn't coming up, I have one other special notation I want to make for everyone. And that's something for many, many years, Jay, Lerman from Discount School Supply. They have been great supporters for NHSA and our advocacy work. Over the years, their donations have totaled up to, are you ready for this, guys? $750,000. Yeah. So Jay's going to come up, and there he is.
Hi, Head Start.
Hey, Jay.
Congratulations on 50 years. So I have a speech here, but I'm blown away. I'm inspired, so what I want to say is, Yasmina, can I come back tomorrow? And if not, I want to say to Mr. Brooks, ditto, 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 and to all the other honored guests here, wow. This is like amazing. How can you not be affected if you sit here in the audience and just listen to this? So I'm going to keep it short because the hour's late, and you said everything that I wanted to say in my heart. But really, I don't belong up here, but Discount School Supply does. For 17 years, every year they've been supporting the work that Head Starts do. They give $50,000 a year to the Dollar Per Child campaign. So it's not easy for them to do that, but they've done it. And it's not 700,000 or 750, it's 850,000 as of today. So you all know Discounts is a great company, and we all know Head Start is good for our nation. God bless.
Thank you, Jay.
Here come our wonderful supporters from Region 2.
Can we get all of Region 2 to stand up, wherever you are in the house? On behalf of New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and we are shrinking every day with grantees, we presented to the National Association $20,000. Thank you, Region 2.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. From the great state of Arkansas, I know we have Arkansans in the house. I can't hear you. That's a whole lot better. Thank you. We have 21 early Head Start programs in the state of Arkansas, and we bring a check for over $6,000.
All right,
Thank
Arkansas.
you.
Thank you, Arkansas.
Good evening from OHIO. Cleveland, just Cleveland COGC, One Head Start. We are happy to bring $24.02.
Hello, we're from United Children and Family Head Start in Detroit, Michigan, and we've raised $1,302.
Hello. Unfortunately, we're not up here to give a $20,000, $500,000, or $50,000 donation, and no donation is too small. From Help Mexico, we'd like to present.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Cabral, and I'm a president of Policy Council, and I present $1,238.50. Thank you.
Hello, from Orange County, California.
We present a check for $3,135. Woo!
From Region 9 programs, including California as well. From Nevada, we have 6,000. From California, 11,000. From Hawaii, 1,800. Additional dollars for a collective Region 9 total of $19,843.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. I wanted him to go up there because this is the force of the dollar per child in that little place, the county, one of the poorest counties in the United States, Cameron and Willacy County, right along the border where we're having a lot of problems. You all don't go into Mexico, you know that. No, no cabrito, but don't let him know that we had the money, right? Anyway, our policy council first, our parents, of course. We come from a program of 2,194 children, and we have over 600 employees, and it's one of the poorest. Olivia Golden, we were very blessed when she was assistant secretary. She went to visit our program down there and the barrios and all that. And we're very proud of that. And right now we have Ms. Peña, she's a policy council chair, and the parents right there with her. And the parents are gonna give you a total amount. This is just the policy council themselves. $10,000 from our program, okay? $10,000, the policy council, okay? And then the teachers, the directors, the board, and former Head Start students, Head Start former parents like me, our board of directors, vice chair, Mr. Roque Rodriguez, and Juan Moreno, that's our secretary, that gives us a lot of support they don't micromanage our program, and we work with our children and families. And we have a total amount with what the parents brought, and also one of our former employees that now has a daycare. She gave us, Erie, how much did it? $374 this year, dollars out, also también out of her daycare. And we have a total amount of $36,000 for you. Wow. $36,000, okay? 36. Mario Chickity Boom for Head Start. Chickity boom, bada bing boom ba. Chickity boom, bada bing boom ba. Alabio, alabo, alabim boom bow. Head Start, early Head Start, rah, rah, rah. Querer es poder. You have leaders in your community, you have parents, they can do it for you. Okay? The parents are strong. Without the parents, remember, we don't have children, and without the children, we don't have a Head Start program, and a lot of us don't have a job. Okay? And please, if you know anybody else in Texas besides us, make sure you talk to them, because the governor over there doesn't think we should have Head Start, that it should be eliminated, okay? So we need to work it, work it. They're going up the hill next week. Thank you. And a big hard round of applause, please, for the National Head Start Association. Por favor, everybody. Oh my. Staff, everybody, please give them a hard round of applause, porque they work hard. Por favor, un aplauso. Does it hurt to? Thank you, Yasmina.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Manuela sends her regards. Thank you. She didn't come. Here you go.
Thank you all so much. The amount of spirit and commitment shown by those donations. And one last round of applause for everybody who brought their checks up. And for all of you who didn't want to bring them up, thank you for your contributions. Now, the 50th is everybody across the country has gotten really involved and excited about it. And even our children have been involved in projects around the 50th anniversary. Classrooms and programs across the country participated in our 50th anniversary poster contest. The national competition was generously sponsored by Teaching Strategies. Here to tell you more and to announce the winners is Kalia Burke, Vice President and Curriculum Assessment at Teaching Strategies.
Hi Hi, so at Teaching Strategies, we are so honored to have been able to sponsor this year's poster contest and to be able to include some of the beautiful work of the children of Head Start in this 50th celebration. I'd like to invite the lead teachers from the 2 winning programs up on the stage. Kayla Raymer from Sioux City and Amy Oldland from Uniontown, Pennsylvania. We can give them a big round of applause. Artwork looks like done by the children of these lovely Head Start programs. And Teaching Strategies is happy to be providing these to all the participants at the conference. You can come by our booth and get your free copy. We're in booth 201, so please come by and see us and congratulate these teachers as you see them around the conference.
Thank you so much. Kaylee, thank you. Thank you, Teaching Strategies, for making it possible for us to have these beautiful posters for our programs to enjoy and for us to actually keep reminding ourselves of what great talent and creativity our children have. So again, thank you so much. We also want to make sure that we like to thank Flagship Carpets. The Head Start Challenge winners will receive beautiful area rugs for their classroom. Each carpet will have a copy of those winning posters, so that's what's going to be on their carpets. So please give them a round of applause and a thank you. And Tammy Burlow she's not here, okay. Tammy Burlow is the president of Flagship Carpets, and so I just wanted to acknowledge her while we were here. So everyone, as we've mentioned before, please stop at our sponsors' booths at Flagship, at Teaching Strategies, at all of our sponsors to make sure that you show them our appreciation. The last, and we also have, there will be a copy of the anniversary carpet. Will be there so you can actually see it and maybe even touch it. So I think the last thing I'm supposed to say to everyone is, besides thank you, is that we want you to please go enjoy the exhibit area. We have some fabulous displays. Please let our supporters know how much we appreciate their being here. Show them with your attention and your interest and really take some time. Thank you all so much, and we're looking forward to seeing you for the rest of this week, and it is on. Happy birthday.